Hello, everyone joining us today for our webinar. We're going to give it a couple of minutes for people to come in, and then we will begin shortly. It's just gone 2 minutes past the hour, so we will begin today's webinar. Hello, everyone, wherever you are joining us from. We actually have the chat open right now throughout the webinar, so feel free to say hello. Let us know whereabouts in the world you're joining us from. My name is Catalina Powell, and I am Global Director for THE Counsellor at Times Higher Education. I am absolutely delighted to be joined today by Josie Allison. She is International Area Manager for Europe, Middle East and Africa at Unifrog, and Buket Ayas, who is Head of Careers and University Counselling at North Anglia International School in Dubai. I should start by saying our thoughts are with everybody based in Dubai, just as Buket is. She's just been sharing with us how extreme the weather is right now and all the difficulties that you guys are facing. So please bear with us if we have some connection issues or Buket's line goes down. As I'm sure you all can appreciate, it's completely out of our control. But yes, our thoughts are very much with you today. As we say, we are today's webinar, how to leverage technology in college counselling. We have a fantastic lineup for you and what will hopefully be a very interactive discussion. A couple of housekeeping issues. We are recording the webinar today, and the recording will be made available to all of you joining us today, but also to anybody who has registered for the webinar and not been able to join us live. So if you have any colleagues who are interested but were worried about not making it, don't worry, please. We will be sharing the recording. As I mentioned earlier, the chat facility is open. Please just drop us a line. Let us know whereabouts in the world you're joining us from. And also any comments. As I said, there will be an interactive element throughout the conversation. So feel free to share your thoughts as well, because this is very much about you getting the most out of this conversation. We also have the Q&A facility open, and there will be plenty of time at the end for questions. So again, at any point throughout this conversation that you have any questions, please feel free to add them on the Q&A. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Times Higher Education Counsellor proposition and the different elements that we have launched specifically for counsellors. I will then pass over to Josie, who will share with you some thoughts about how Unifrog is working with counsellors and what to expect in terms of the education technology platform that Unifrog offers. I think most of you in college counselling are probably familiar with Unifrog in one way or another, but I think, Josie, your idea is also to talk to those who have never heard of Unifrog before and are coming fresh into the conversation, as well as the ones that are familiar with the platform. And of course, last but by no means least, or rather I should say the icing on the cake, we will pass over to Bouquet, who is a very experienced careers and university counsellor who is very familiar with both the Times Education counsellor platform, but also with Unifrog. And Bouquet will be sharing her perspective as a counsellor, how she uses it, sharing perhaps some of those best practices, tips and tricks for you to make the most out of the education technology platforms that are available to you. So I will begin. Last year, Times Higher Education, who is the data provider of the rankings, are very well known by around the world for producing the World University Rankings, Impact Rankings. We specialize in providing data for higher education, but we realized that we had a very big audience in high school counselors who were not quite served by any of the contents that we were providing at the time. When we brought BMI into the THE family, the company that we acquired a couple of years ago, many of you will be familiar with BMI as they run the student recruitment events around the world. They already had a very good, very established relationship with high school counselors. And it was through the counselors' feedback of coming to us and saying that they were looking for platforms and ways to connect with each other. And as a result of that feedback, Times Higher Education decided to set up a whole strategy to engage with high school counselors. So the very first thing that we did as a business was to appoint our International Schools Advisory Board. What we did is we selected individuals from around the world who are very experienced, who are very influential in their respective regions, who would come to us and help us unpack what is it that counselors need. We wanted this very much to be counselor-led and not us as a business saying this is what the counselor community needs, but very much around conversation, being both ways, but very much directed by the counselors themselves. So our advisory board has been instrumental in guiding us, in helping us, in understanding the needs of the counselors, so that anything that we put out there for the counseling community is relevant, is accurate, and is really what the community needs. So I'm delighted to say Bouquet, who is joining us here today, is a member of the advisory board. And you know, just as the other members, has been instrumental in us putting this proposition together. So our strategy has 3 pillars, which I am very briefly going to tell you a little bit about. The THE Counselor Resources Platform, the CAP, or the Counselor Accreditation Program, and the in-person events that we run around the world. I'll begin with THE Counselor. As I said, it's a resources platform for international school counselors to help them advise students on career and university selection. And we have created THE Counselor with a number of incredibly knowledgeable partners, which we are very proud to say, of course, Unifrog being one of them. We also work with Huron University, UCL, UCAS, and Common Purpose. The content itself of the THE Counselor platform is divided into 3 categories, if you like, or 3 different types of content that you can find on the platform. The first one is content written by the THE editorial team. So we, Times Higher Education, began live as a supplement of the Times, the newspaper in the UK. So we are very much journalists at heart. So we have a fantastic editorial team who produces some very, very high quality content. The second type of content is provided by our partners. So for example, Unifrog has been providing us with resources that are specific for counselors and that you can find on the platform itself. And then last but not least, but very excitingly, a lot of the content is counselor-led. And this is counselors from all over the world that have come to us and said, I have some knowledge on a particular area that I would like to share with you. And we will talk a little bit more about this later on in the conversation. But, you know, as you can see that there are just some 3 examples of the type of articles that you can find on THE Counsellor. There is no subject off limits, and we very much encourage counsellors to share that knowledge constantly with the community. THE Counsellor is free, is open for any of you to come and interact, but also to submit content that you would like to share with the community. THE Counsellor also has a monthly newsletter that includes events that are happening, that includes highlights on content that has just been produced, that includes job vacancies from all over the world, and any other relevant information for the community. The second pillar of our counselor strategy is the CAP, or the Counselor Accreditation Program, the full name. And this is a free online professional development course that we have developed in partnership with Common Purpose. It's a 2-year accreditation once the counselor completes the CAP. There's 12 modules in 6 content areas, which you can see there: admissions, artificial intelligence, counselling, future of education and work, managing stakeholders, and resilience. So far, the latest numbers, we've had just over 3,200 counsellors from all over the world either completing the CAP or in the process of completing the CAP from 139 different countries. And a very important feature of the CAP that we wanted to make sure is that it is accessible to everybody all over the world, as long as you work at high school. And perhaps counselling is 100% your job role, perhaps it's only a small part, perhaps you support colleagues dipping in and out, providing that essential careers guidance and advice on next steps for high schoolers. So we want to make sure that it's as open and as accessible as it can be. Also to say it's applicable whether it's day 1 on the job or whether you are a very, very experienced counsellor who has been doing the job for many, many years. We hope you find loads of things to take with you. I wanted to share some of the thoughts from counsellors that have been sharing with us around the CAP, around what they have learned from it, what they have taken from it. And I would really like to encourage everybody who is on the webinar today to take the CAP. If you haven't done it already, please make sure that you sign up to it. And if you have signed up to it, please help us spread the word amongst your networks, because again, we want to make it as open and as inclusive as possible. The final element of the pillar is the in-person events, and this is our International Schools Forum and workshops that we run around the world. And this is an opportunity for counsellors to meet face-to-face, to receive some of this professional development in person, so part of the CAP sessions, but also to be able to connect with universities from all over the world, and very importantly, with each other. This is kind of my whistle tour of our counselor strategy. Again, all of this recording, because the recording will be made available, you can then look at it in your own time. But if you have any questions or any comments around anything that you've just heard so far, please feel free to use the chats and the Q&A. So now I am delighted to pass over to Josie, who will be sharing with you a little bit more about Unifrog and what it can do for you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kat. That was super interesting. And hi to so many of the counsellors who've been saying hello in the chat. It's really lovely to be here to speak to you all today. I am a huge fan of the in-person forums that Times Higher Education and BMI run, and I've seen many of you who are here today in person at those events. So if you haven't looked at those before, I can definitely recommend looking into that. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen now, ready to talk to you a little bit about how you can use technology. Obviously, I'm speaking from a Unifrog perspective, but if we go back to the beginning here, but there's so many different technology opportunities out there. So I'm going to start with a little bit of an introduction to myself, who I am, and then we're going to look at some of the different areas within all of your roles as college counsellors, where maybe you currently already utilize technology, or if you don't already, some of the ways that we can think about bringing that in as well. So just to introduce myself, as Kat said, I'm Josie and I work here at Unifrog. I've been at Unifrog now for 3 years, so I've worked with lots of you here at this webinar as well. But of course, there'll be some here as well who are not current Unifrog partner schools. So for those of you who are less familiar, what is Unifrog? We're an online technology platform. We work really closely with Times Higher Education and the team there, but we also work individually with schools to support you with your careers and university guidance programs. We have lots of resources for students, and we also have lots of resources for you as counsellors as well. So throughout this kind of 10 minutes that I'll be sharing some of these kind of top tips with you, you'll see some of those resources, but please do, if you have questions as we go through, whether a current Unifrog school or not, do put them in the Q&A. I'll try and keep an eye on that, but I know at the end we'll have time to answer any questions. So just for me, I've seen lots of people in the chat who I recognize. So if you could just take a quick 5 seconds to just type into the chat box a yes if you are a current Unifrog partner school, and a no if you're not. It's just really useful so I can make this as useful for everyone as possible. It almost seems like a 50-50 split, a few more current partner schools, lots though that are not currently using the platform. Welcome as well to all of our partner schools who are with us today. Thank you, that's super useful. So whether you're a current partner school or not, hopefully the time that I've got to speak to you, you're going to leave thinking, actually, there's different ways that I can utilize technology to save me time and make my job easier. So thank you so much for that. That's super useful. A little bit about Unifrog. So we currently work with over 3,500 schools around the world in over 100 different countries. And whichever context you're here from, whether you're an American curriculum school, an IB, another curriculum as well, we work with a full range. So I think that's something to be really aware of when we're thinking about technology in general, and with Unifrog, that it's important for it to be flexible to your content. Now, we know that every school is different anyway, but when it comes to international schools, the range is so huge. So we want to think, how can technology fit to your unique circumstance as well? And how can it be flexible to what you want as a counsellor? You know your students best. So for our session today, I'm going to be talking over these 4 points here. So we're going to start by thinking about how you can help students find the best opportunity for them. Then we're going to think about more of the management, kind of that practical side when it comes to counselling. So some management tools as well for you to use to save you admin time. Thinking about how we can use technology to support us when it comes to careers counselling data. And then finally as well, building students' portfolios and how we can start that maybe slightly earlier in the process as well to, again, save with that rush when it gets to that point. But just again, to get some feedback from you, we're just going to do a very quick word cloud of the destinations that your students currently apply to when they're thinking about where to study at university. So if you've got your phone or device in your hand, please do scan this QR code. I'll give you a few seconds and it will take you through to Mentimeter to ask for your top 3 students' destinations. I will give you, let's say, 20 seconds, because we don't have all the time, to do that and scan that code. And then I'm just going to reshare my screen and we can look at our word cloud forming as well, because this leads nicely on to how can we find the best opportunities for our students. So I'll give 10 more seconds for that. So you will have time to get your device, scan that top 3 countries, regions, if you find that easier. And hopefully, if I stop sharing and reshare my screen, we'll have a wonderful word cloud forming. Perfect. So UK, US, Canada, UAE. Perfect. I'll let a few more come through. Jordan, US, Netherlands as well. That's one I'm sure we're all aware is super popular at the moment. Malaysia as well. I can see that one growing, Hong Kong. And I think what's really exciting as we're filling this word cloud is we're currently at the point where now that the kind of fear that we had for those first few years after COVID of students going too far from home, I think is really starting to pass this year. And we're having some lovely conversations with the counsellors that we work with, that students are just getting really excited by the range of opportunities out there. And I think increasingly over time, students are thinking away a little bit from maybe the more traditional kind of Canada, US, UK, Europe pathways. We're kind of thinking about Australia, New Zealand, more of the Asian universities, as well as we're having an increase in some really wonderful international campuses open up in countries like Malaysia, like the UAE, like Saudi Arabia as well. So as we all know with counselling, trends change so much. And I think it's really great to see that range from you all that are here today. So what I'm going to talk about briefly is how you can use technology to help your students find those best opportunities for them. Because as we all know, students often come into these kind of career conversations with maybe a set idea of what they want to do, where they want to go. And we really want to utilize technology to help students explore the range of options out there. So I'm going to show you in a minute our Unifrog search tool, but of course, it's the main kind of key things when we're thinking about how to get technology to support students with their research is how can we get students to effectively compare and contrast different universities' options that are out there? How can we prevent them from getting overwhelmed by the range of information out there, especially if students are using kind of general search engines? They might have kind of 50 different tabs open, all the information is in a completely different format. And I mean, we're in a wonderful time that there's so many university choices, but if we're thinking back to the kind of 15, 16-year-olds that we're working with, it can get quite overwhelming. So how can we make that manageable for our students? And then the most important thing is how can we make sure that that information is reliable and up to date as well? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the Unifrog platform very briefly, just so that you can see how our search tools work quickly. But what you can see on your screen is a quick screen grab from the platform. So I'll reshare my screen so it can be a little bit more interactive and we can have a look through that ourselves. So our searching for opportunities, which is our database here at Unifrog, has lots of different undergraduate English speaking courses around the world. So you can see the different areas that we cover. Our top three probably are still the traditional UK, US, and Europe. But increasingly, we're seeing different ranges. So within our Middle East and Africa search tool, they can find opportunities in the UAE, in Qatar. In Asia, we have new and emerging universities in Malaysia. I know Hong Kong and Singapore, Japan and South Korea as well are increasingly popular. So this really just allows students to create these research lists to start that journey. And one of the things that I often say to counsellors to kind of look out for as well is it's very easy for students where you may be having bigger universities with bigger kind of marketing budgets. Some different search tools allow universities to kind of promote themselves to the top of that search tool. As with counsellors, we know that we want students to find the best opportunity for them, even if it's a tiny little liberal arts college in the US. If that's where they're going to be the most successful and the most happy, we really want them to be able to find that easily as well. So not being too influenced as well by maybe some of the larger universities. So different search tools work in different ways, but how Unifrog works, I'll just show us through very quickly, is it will ask the students a couple of questions, including what subject they're interested in, but we can go through here without a major. It will ask some information about their qualifications. And again, we're just trying to limit that down for students so it's not too overwhelming. So if we've got a GPA, APs, whether they're doing A-levels, IB, they can search that through there. We're going to again select some regions. We're thinking about how to start helping students narrow that down. I'm going to go for the whole country. And then it brings up all of the different options for students. Now, lots of different search tools will just kind of have these lists. We want to allow students to filter through, rank through, explore different subjects, create, maybe let's say I'm going to click a few at random, create some kind of lists that we're interested in, and then that will take students through to that full map and the fact file here. So This is just some of the information that you might need to think, actually, are our students accessing that information, including information on financial aid, league tables, of course. I know that Times Higher Education, you can filter through to see their university league tables through this as well. So everything just sits here in one place. Students can then go down, compare the costs, compare student experience, etc. That's actually one thing, if I share back to our main presentation, that I think is really worth mentioning, is trying to get students to think about other students' experiences within their search tools as well. So anything that has student perspectives is really wonderful, because it isn't all about numbers and league tables. It's also about their lived experience at that campus as well. So our second point that I wanted to just go through is, of course, the more data side, now the management side. So as you are all here with the practical on the ground experience of being in schools, I remember what it was like being in a school. Time is what we're all lacking, and we all wish that we had more of. So when it comes to using technology, there's so many different ways that we can utilize technology to help us keep track of multiple different destinations that students are applying to, the deadlines, and again, keeping track of references, recommendations. There's a lot of admin work, as you all know, throughout that whole process when it comes to supporting students with their university applications. And even previous to that, when we're kind of keeping track from those one-to-one meetings of where students are interested in. Now, I know from speaking to a lot of schools, spreadsheets are great. I'm a big spreadsheet believer, but it takes a lot of admin time to get that information on there. So one of the benefits of Unifrog, and again, you can see the screen grab here of our management tool, which is in this case, keeping track of personal statements, is everything that students do on Unifrog, whether it's at the research stage, whether it's keeping track of their applications and deadlines, all automatically happens. So when we're thinking about technologies, you want to have as minimal workload as possible and really utilizing, I like the phrase, work smarter, not harder. Like if you can get the program to do that for you, pull through that data, automatically analyze it for you, it just is going to save you a lot of time. Anything that you can use to add notes, as you can see on the right-hand side, kind of create tags for students and filter through very easily. That's all super useful there. Now, before I show you that, I've just seen a couple of questions come through, so I'm just going to double check. Oh, in terms of, great question about the search tool, how it's organized. That's usually done by the entrance requirements and the success criteria, but students can actually change that filter around so they can have it in a different order based on their different priorities. So let's just have a little quick look at the management side, and then I'm going to lead straight on to my third point, which is data, because while we're sharing our screen, we'll have a little look through that. So this all sits slightly separately on the teacher side of Unifrog. So I'll go back across here. This is our example school, so don't worry, there's no student data here. But I just wanted to show you some of the ways that you might want to utilize technology to think about setting kind of tasks, keeping track of students. So I'm going to do a little example that I often do with our partner schools in staff training, which is keeping track of application materials, which I think is a really big admin task for a lot of us. So let's say I want to see my students who are writing their personal statements. These are all live working documents. I can keep track of them all here. I can now use my management system to filter by personal statement, and I can really easily see from my cohort of 141 that I now have 120 students who haven't started their personal statement. But I'm a big international school. I have students applying all over the world. Not all my students are applying to the UK. I don't need them to be doing personal statements. You can see what we've done earlier is created these tags or kind of tracks for students there. I can filter by tag. It will only bring up, as if you use Unifrog, you know this. So I've got 52 UK students, of whom I can now see 40 haven't started. So you can see how if you're managing multiple deadlines, lots of different destinations, technology can really help you filter through, especially if you're quite a big school, a lot of students at once. And I can then send them a reminder, a task, or some resources. Maybe these students are struggling a little bit. So I can say, read this to start your personal statement. And I can now search through or attach all my resources that I've been working on as a school to support that student with their personal statement. So you can see in terms of admin tasks, rather than kind of having to jump between spreadsheets, emails, Google Classroom, anything that you can do as a school to simplify, streamline, and make that more efficient is just going to open up so much time for you as a counsellor to be able to have more one-to-ones with your students, more of the student face-to-face time, which is really why we all work in education, is to have that time with the students. A few more questions coming in, so I'll just keep an eye on that. Perfect. And then the other thing I just wanted to show you very quickly is, of course, the data while we're here in this place. So management system is great to keep track of that kind of individual student need, but of course we all have to answer to the powers that be and evidence data as well. So with Unifrog and with different ways of technology, whether it might be the spreadsheets can create some really lovely graphs for you, but we have a section here called charts, which automatically analyzes everything that students are doing through the Unifrog platform and just allows you to keep track of everything. So I'm just going to, again, do a little kind of example. So let's say I want to keep track of where my students are researching. So this is their popular subject areas to research. What I always recommend using technology for our schools is just to try and be one step ahead of where the students are. So as you know, cohorts kind of get personalities, there'll be trends coming through the school. I could filter this down to look at a younger year group, maybe my next year graduating cohort. It's that time of year at the moment. And I can see business, arts, humanities, social sciences. This is not a very STEM heavy year group. They're not that interested in the pure sciences. So maybe I'm going to think, actually, what trips am I going to do? What universities am I going to get to speak to my students in assemblies next year? I'll probably be focusing on maybe business, arts, or humanities colleges to come in and do that and really make sure that I'm providing the best possible kind of process for my students throughout the next year for them. Technology has made that super easy for me, but there are other ways, as you probably know, to kind of gather and keep track of that data. But again, streamlining it as much as possible. And then the very final thing I'm going to touch on, because it leads really nicely onto Bouquet's segment, which is coming up, which is how to get students to complete digital portfolios. Now, I'm a huge advocate for starting these conversations as young as possible. Before I joined Unifrog, I used to work for an organization that specialized in kind of early careers intervention. So we're thinking kind of age 10, 11, 12. Obviously, you know your own capacity, but you can start at any age, I think, to really start building this up for your students. So what I've got in front of me is our recording what you've done. This is our kind of digital portfolio, let's say, for students. They can add things into their locker, their activities, whether you're a Unifrog school or not. Definitely have a think, how can I start to get students to digitally keep track of all of their achievements over their time at school? Because I say from personal experience, the number of panic conversations that I've had with students in grade 11, year 12, where maybe they just coasted through a little bit and are now going to have to get so many opportunities in that summer before they apply. By keeping track earlier, they're going to realize, actually, yes, being captain of a football team is going to be useful in my application, the skills that I'm developing out of it. And also, it encourages students themselves to keep track of it. So that's an admin task that you could potentially save by showing students, actually, it's your future, you're independent, let's make sure that you're keeping on top of this too. But of course, that all pulls through to their management, so you can keep an eye on them as well. A few other questions as well. What I'm just going to do is I'll just share back my final slide just for if you have any follow-up questions, if you are not a current Unifrog school, do please get in touch. I've put my email address there and also the link, but we'll be here in the chat as well. But I know lots of you are using those kind of tools that I've showed already. Think creatively as well, outside of the box of how you could get technology to support you with that. But let's pass over to Bouquet, who obviously has the on-the-ground experience and I know has lots of really exciting top tips to share with you. But thank you all for those questions, and we'll chat in a minute.
Thank you so much, Josie. Everyone in Dubai or around UAE, I really feel for you at the moment. We do have electricity, but it was gone for a while. And I've come down with the bug, so I'm so sorry about my sound right now. The voice might not be as high as it usually is, but I'll bear with you all. All right, so today I really want to talk about a couple of features that I use on Unifrog, but not just that. I also want to be able to talk about how I leverage technology through Times Higher Education and how that's really played a significant role in my life to kind of get to a point where I am in understanding things overall as a counselor, or keeping up to date, let's say. Now, I will also show two more things at the end of my slide that just came up while Josie was talking. So that's kind of going to be our bonus at the end. So let me start by sharing my screen real quickly. Here it is. All right. I hope you can all see it. Are we good? Yeah. All right. Perfect. So how do I leverage technology as a university counselor? Yes, we are a Unifrog school, and we're lucky that we are, because we do utilize Unifrog a lot. But also outside of Unifrog, where we do not have the resources, Times Higher Education, the counselor specifically, has come to be my savior in all sorts of areas. So that also has been a phenomenal way for me to keep up to date, as I just said. But also, from time to time, counselors in the region, we've come together to talk about how they utilize technology. So I've used bits and pieces of how they've utilized it, and used it as, or maybe advanced it a little bit in my role at school. So I'd also like to show you that. So let's start. So how do we do that? So talking about the digital portfolios that Josie just touched on, at school, we do have a comprehensive student profiling and method, and then we help students develop their high school resume. You might call this the high school CV, or I don't know, do you call it the student profile? It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. But what we try to do is we try to make sure students understand early on that they will be utilizing Unifrog and other sorts of websites to be able to do this. Now, we have, of course, had challenges during COVID and even after COVID for our students to be able to find work experience opportunities. And a couple of years back, Unifrog launched this really cool tool called the Special Opportunities feature. I don't know if any of you know about this or utilize this, but this has really, really changed our lives in school. And when I first started digging in, I tried to use different methods in searching through. And the way I do it to find online work experience has been really, really useful. So if you're in a situation at school and students are coming to you and saying, oh, I need internships, miss. Oh, I need work experience and I don't know how to do this. Oh, I want to understand what this career is about. So, and you don't have all the opportunities in your cities to be able to direct them to on-site ones. Well, guess what? Special Opportunities really does help out in this aspect. What we do is, first of all, we identify opportunities and we help students go to the Special Opportunities tab. And through this, we find relevant online work experience programs. I will show you in just a little bit how we do this to go straight to online work experience rather than searching through anything else. And then what we do is we select strategic experiences that will be suitable for the major they will study, or if they want to do a project in the future, or if they want to be involved in research perhaps online. So we choose them strategically and help students say, okay, you might want to look into this one, and this one. And then we look at the outcome and the impact on their CV, and we help them find those key words that they can write in their CVs. And then they use it on the activities and the skills tab. So they populate that and vice versa. They go into their CVs and they use it on their CVs as well. And of course, for the reflection and documentation part, we really make sure that students have a high school CV. And I know some of the students will say, well, I'm not going to need a high school CV. That doesn't really matter. A high school CV is something that can help you track things, just like you're tracking on activities in the skills tab. That is like where you kind of dump everything. But then when you take it to the CV, it's like all in one. So it really does help out, help the students see what they're missing, see where they're advanced, see where they need enhancement maybe in certain areas. And this has really come to play for us really well, because I do know that the students in the UAE are still searching, even at the moment, for these work experiences, and this tool is really going to come to help. Let me just go ahead in my slide. So this is the Special Opportunities tab that you will find right here. Please mind my arrows and my circling. So it's right here. And it is under where you get to shortlist. So sometimes you don't really get to see it. It's all the way down here. But if you do click on it, this is how we do the research. I skip the scholarships and all that stuff, and I go straight to rest of the world. And then I go to online worldwide. Now, if we can do this, you will get to the work experience right away. And then from there, you get to choose all the different careers that your students would want to be involved in online and worldwide work experience. Now, when we say worldwide, this really is worldwide. You can actually, from the tabs that come up later on, you can even find on-site work experience through this. So yes, it does say online worldwide, but some of the opportunities like on Uptree are even on the spot if your students are in those cities. So now, here are some things that I'd really like to talk about. For example, some of the awesome websites that I've really come across throughout my career and that has really made my life easy and our students' lives easy. And trust me, most of these are either with no fees or with minimal fees. And I've only found them through Unifrog, through that special opportunities feature. The Forage, this has really come to our rescue at school. Through the Forage, a lot of my students have found amazing opportunities, even in aerospace engineering through GE, where they get to take part in some online work experience. Lululemon is a super popular one amongst our high schoolers. They always talk about the Lululemon omni-channel marketing experience, and a lot of our business keen students have taken that up. Uptree is the one. Yes, it is online, but when you scroll down, from their online, they even have some on-site options down below. So yes, it takes you to the online feature of careers exploration, but if students are in London, for example, they have some on-site features as well, and it is either free or with a minimal fee. Investin is all over. They're even in the UAE at the moment. They have some weekend options for careers and work experience, and you can see that it is through technology. It is through these portals and platforms that I got to know about these. And yes, COVID has helped them develop a lot, but we wouldn't be able to learn about these just sitting at our spots or our schools if we weren't actually digging deeper. And then SpringPod, as you know, SpringPod has even now made an agreement with UCAS, and now they're officially recognized by UCAS. So these are some great opportunities that you can find in special opportunities tab, but it is not limited to these. These are the ones that my students love and adore. So I just wanted to share them with you. Now, what else do we do after that? This is the reflection section that Josie was talking about. Now, I'd really like to show you what it looks like. We use the activities, and this is where we record at least 10. If you are a school that has a lot of students going to the US, you do know that we need around 10 activities to be recorded on the Common App, if we can, if our students can, of course. And this really comes to your help right here if the students have recorded them. So I'll show you what ours looks like. So the students who've actually completed the Forage and one in the Uptree one in London, the Forage by Lululemon, a work experience. This is the omni-channel marketing that I was talking about, the work experience online. Again, through technology, things have really changed. When students were trying to find things on the spot, now they get to do it online. And then in London, IBM, Technology and Business Work by Uptree, and the student has talked about what they've listened to during this workshop in London by IBM. So, and then they've all recorded it right here as an activity. Now, if we go to Times Higher Education to talk about how I've been utilizing the Times Higher Education, the counselor resources. Now, I'm not a person that is really good with data, and I've always struggled to crunch data and bring it together and understand it myself to be able to then deliver it to my students. But thanks to Times Higher Education Counselor resources, I think this is a spot we need to watch very closely and contribute if we can, because I'm learning a lot from you guys. I really am, and I can't thank you enough for this. Now, there are lots of resources on the Counselor Resources webpage. And then if you can take a look at the latest resources, there's something for all of us. There really is something for all of us. Now, there was one specifically that I wanted to show you, if I could maybe show my screen. Just a moment. And I've actually found the, I'm sorry to be keeping you, but I really wanted to show you this one. All right, so this is it. I'll share my screen really quickly. And this was a life-changing article for me. And sorry about all my millions of tabs. This is how I work. But the university application process is filled with data. And when it comes to understanding statistics, that's where I fail. So I was very blessed to be able to, right before Open Doors brings out its data, as you know, that it's very soon, I really wanted to understand acceptance rates we all talk about, but do we really understand it? How about what mean and median is, and how do we calculate averages? And all of these data-filled stuff from maybe MIT and the middle 50% range, do you all know what that means? And how do you make use of it when you're actually using this data with your parents and your students? So this was kind of a life-changing article for me after reading it. And then I went on and did a little bit more research. And these are the things that are free and out there. And yes, Times Higher Education has its own platform, but it's not limited to that. We need to be able to share and use it and utilize these platforms. And now I'd really like to show you one more thing that is on Unifrog that Josie touched upon just a little bit, but is also going to be a life-saving function for you when you are utilizing the Unifrog platform. So here we go. Now, as you know, when we are actually helping our students look at statistics and acceptance rates, when we create this shortlist with our students, and we tell them, oh, the qualification of the IB diploma is 38. And a student who already has a 40, for example, and is aiming to go to UCL and says, oh, I'm definitely getting in. How can you actually work around that and say, oh, wait a minute right there. Yes, it says 38, but have you checked out what Unifrog has to offer you down below when you create this shortlist? And I show them this and they are all shocked with the parents as well. So if you look at this right here, it says, getting in, I think this is the place where students really need to look at. And counselors, you need to be able to find the time to show your students that, yes, getting in, the entry requirement might be 39 or 38. But realistically, the students who've actually gotten in have typically gotten a 40 with 677 in their HLs, for example. This is quite an eye-opener. I had a student and a family sitting down with me and saying, no, they've got a 36, they're definitely getting in. But when I showed them this you can't really find anywhere. Yes, this is what the entry requirements are. It's on UCAS, but the averages is what Unifrog has pulled out from all these universities, and it's on the short list. So students have to make those short lists. And I'd like to show you one more. Which university is this? Let's look real quickly. This is Imperial for mechanical engineering, very popular major. So it says 40 is the IB entry requirement. But if we scroll down a little bit more, if you see it, the average, the successful applicant rate is IB diploma 43. So this is kind of like what we need more so than just showing them the bare entry requirements. This is exactly what we need to show our students, that the bare entry requirements are not enough. You really need to be able to look down below and see how the IB diploma, the average is coming together. Now, that was another thing from Unifrog that I utilize, and it really is a life-changing aspect for me, especially when we're talking about acceptance rates or entry requirements with our students as well. Now, there is one more thing that I'd really like to show you, but it doesn't have anything to do with Times Higher Education or Unifrog. It's more like, and I know that's only because a lot of you might not be using Unifrog. There is something that a counselor recently showed me, and Kat, please stop me if I'm not allowed to show this, but I really wanted to, because this was from another counselor in the UAE. I recently saw it in an email he showed me, and I was like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. And I'd really like to show you one last thing of how we use the Padlet. And I know a couple of you out there already are using it. But this is how we use the Padlet, kind of like a drop everything in one place kind of thing for our year 12 going up to year 13 students, where we add our dates and deadlines, where we add year 12 resources. And I pick up some of these resources from Unifrog as well. So year 13 resources, college readiness tools and programs. These are a lot of those online programs that I've found on Unifrog. And I put the tabs in there. I'm like, hey, there's a forage. Look what I found. Why don't you check it out? And some experiential learning opportunities for our students, volunteer activities, internships and work experiences here. So as you see, the virtual internships, Spring Pod, the forage is here, and some scholarships and financial aid opportunities. So you get to develop and populate this as you wish. So this was the bonus that I wanted to show at the end. I hope that was okay, but I'm really keen to make sure that we are up to date in our counseling field. And if you have any questions, I guess this is the time to ask. Thank you for listening, everyone.
That was incredible. Thank you so much, Bouquets. I'm mindful of time, and I'm also mindful that we could have done this webinar about 3 hours long. There is that much information to unpick. Thank you so much for the questions. Keep them coming. I'm going to read a couple of the questions here. Josie, I'm going to start with you. There's a question here in the chat. My question is, must my school be a partner before accessing the Unifrog platform?
Oh, yes, I see this question from Tulip International College in Nigeria. Yes, unfortunately, yes, you do, but please do feel free to reach out. We have lots of partner schools that we work with in Nigeria, so definitely I'll pop my email in the chat again at the end. So definitely reach out and we can chat about that. But all the Unifrog content is for our partner schools. We do have some just on the Unifrog website as well that's available for everyone. So please do check that out too. But most of the tools that myself and Bouquet have showed are for our partner schools, which I know a lot of you currently are. So if you want to know how to get access, please do drop me an email directly.
Thank you, Josie. There's a couple of follow-ups there. Is the platform form study abroad only, or could it be used for home country?
Yeah, great question. So the majority of our schools do use it for study abroad. It really depends on where home country is for you. So at the moment, I know that we don't have Nigerian universities listed, so it would be for your international students. But for example, for our UAE schools, we do have all of the UAE universities listed on the platform too, and lots of other countries too. So it really does depend. Lots of our schools use it across the whole board, whether the students are staying locally or going internationally. And then Kat, I think I can see the other one, which is about signing up. Yes, it's always a whole school. And that's because I think everything that Bouquet has been saying, it's a real, you are a piece of the puzzle, most important in the conversations that the students are happening. And technology is incredible. And obviously that's what we're talking about today. But really, when it comes to college counselling, the human element is also so important. And you all as counsellors here work so hard. It's got to be a piece in the puzzle in that conversation rather than a replacement of, for sure. I'm a huge advocate for having that kind of holistic face-to-face approach as well.
Thank you, Josie. There was another question in the chat. What are the profiling points? So name, ID, etc.
Is that when we're talking about the digital portfolios that
I believe so, yes.
So I wonder if Bouquet, this might be a good one for you. So the sort of kind of information that you try and get the students to put into their profiles.
Yeah, sure. I actually have it here right now. And when you log in as a student to your own portals, you'll be able to see the profiling. It's do you want me to share my screen really quickly to just show how we do it, or do we
up already?
Yeah, it's right here. So if you see, there's a locker where you can start adding some items and just put it there. And then if you go to the activities tool, this is literally add every activity, up to 10, of course, because it's kind of limited and we want you to choose the ones that really define your experience. So if you see what students have added, and when they've done it and what it means for them. And what I really like here is the skills and the activity. You get to choose what type of activity it is. So if you do a really quick one, you'll see that you get to form your own title. And then there's a drop-down menu to choose if your activity is academic, if it's extracurricular, or even if it's other, and you get to type in your own activity. And the achievements are really key because these achievements go on the CV, and these achievements are what go on any application, really. And even if you're writing your supplemental essays to all of these universities that you're applying to, this is where you're going to come back to. This is where you're going to get that motivation and spark to write about it. So I always tell students to populate this as much as they can. And then you just keep adding the activities with the dates. The date is also really important. I really like that. Thank you, Josie. The reason is the students are always thinking about, oh, when did I do this? So having that date in there also prevents all that confusion. So, but then there are also skills. If you go back, you can use a skills tool, and each skill you have to put in an explanation. And academics is something completely different though. So these are the ones that we usually use right here.
I think that's probably the same for most of our schools as well. Okay, thank you. That was so much better than I could explain it as well.
Thank you so much, Buket. There's another couple of questions for you, Josie. Where does Unifrog get their data on actual admitted students? And is it listed for all UK courses and institutions?
Yeah, great question. So we have a huge range of places that we get our data from. A huge shout out to our data team. They work incredibly hard. One thing as well that I always say to our schools is that we guarantee that it's always updated every academic year. So if you're thinking in the back of your mind, how up to date is this data? It seems like there's a lot. We update it at least every academic year, but often much quicker as well. So, for example, during COVID, when lots of universities were removing SAT requirements, we're updating it pretty much every day at that point. So lots of it directly from universities. We have great relationships with a lot of universities as well. Lots of different kind of data set sites as well that we have access to. So it's really a huge range, and we kind of try and cross-reference everything as much as possible. So it's not one definite answer of a place, because we have a whole team working on that. And then in terms of, there was a second half to that question.
Is it listed for all UK courses and institutions?
Yes. So as far as I'm aware, yes, for all of the UK courses. One of the things we always caveat is where we have access to data, because it's really important for us that the data there is up to date. So if we can't have an accurate data set for that, we're not going to try and put low quality data in it. If it's there, then it's accurate and up to date. But yes, for the university courses in the UK.
That's great. Thank you so much, Josie. I think we have time for a couple of more questions. I'm going to quickly answer a question about the cap that was put on the Q&A. Why can't the cap be opened up for those who work in NGOs, independent counsellors who are from schools without college counselling? The reason why at the moment the cap in its current format is only for counsellors working in high schools is because the content is specifically designed for counsellors working in high schools. So we have elements like working with senior leadership within the high school, which is just not relevant for independent counsellors at the moment. That is not to say that later on there won't be an evolution or perhaps a version of the cap that we might open to independent counsellors. So watch this space. It is something that, you know, we are continually having this dialogue with our advisory board, with the industry, with the counselling community, to make sure that the cap is always relevant and is always accurate. You know, it feels like you see the numbers are big, but my goodness, we only launched last year, so it's still early days for us, and you know, this is where we have started, but of course ambitious plans for evolutions in the future. But that being said, as Buket said, THE Counselor, the resources platform, is open, is free, is available for counselors in every circumstance, for those who are independent counselors, those who are part of a big school, of a small school, of an international school, of a local curriculum school. You know, regardless of where you are at, we want to make sure that you have access to this information. And that sort of brings me nicely to my final question. We might go over maybe a minute or two, if that's okay, but I just want to get Buket and Josie's thoughts on this. And is, if there is a counsellor who has heard about everything that we've been talking about today and thinks, I really want to have that conversation with my senior leadership team about investing in an education technology platform, whether it's investing in terms of budget, in terms of time commitment, in terms of capacity. What advice would you have for those counselors thinking, okay, I want to do it, I want to have the conversation with senior leadership team, perhaps some tips and tricks that you might like to share. So I'll go to Josie first, if that's okay, and then I'll finish with Bouquet.
Thank you, Kat. And I think the thing that I like to pick up on is when we're thinking of budget, when it comes to time budget, because I know in a school, that's where everything really comes down to. And obviously, I know that we've had a couple of questions in the chat about like how to roll this out to students, how to roll it out to staff. Anything new always does require a little bit of investment when it comes to the time to get that kind of ball rolling, a bit of a snowball effect. I always see such a lift up in the second year when our schools are using Unifrog than the first, because it does need that time to embed. But in terms of the long-term benefits, you will save time. Like, we are in a wonderful age of technology, growing so fast, improving so quickly, with AI and all those conversations we're having as well. So if you're really struggling with that conversation, just showing how much time would be saved in the long run, even if there is that little time investment at the start, I would say with any technology, that's really going to help you there.
As you all know, if you've completed the CAP, I'm all about talking to SLT about what you want and then getting your voice out there. Now, for us, it's not just me who's using the platform. I think that's what needs to be made clear with your SLT, is that it's going to make the lives of so many other people easier. So I know that in the beginning, like Josie said, there's going to be a lot of, I don't know, what can we say with being nice? It's going to be a lot of, oh, I can't do this, I have so much work to do, kind of probably a reaction. But I can tell you for a fact that once teachers get the grip, once students actually see how useful it is, and maybe you do kind of have to make this mandatory on your end for people to use it, rather than saying, oh, this is just a tool. It's not. This is where everything goes. This is where and when and how we will be seeing the progress of a student, tracking data. So you get rid of all those spreadsheets flying up in the air. It's all in one. And the fact that the school will be using it, not just you as a counselor. So they're not buying this for you. They're buying this for the school. And I think if you can make that clear and show how other schools are utilizing this, even how I showed you those averages, that even changes life. I'm telling you how it's really changed ours. I mean, these little tips and tricks, they're rolled out to the school, and it's not a platform for a counselor, it's a platform for the school. And that's, if we can get this across, then it will be fine. And maybe in the beginning, if Josie can do a little bit of a demo, because that's how we got it in our school. There was a back and forth, a demo, and how this was utilized with the counselors and the sixth form team. That kind of did the trick as well. So this is what we did.
Thank you so much. I feel, Bouquet, that we might have a potential article for THE Counselor in our hands here. How to have those conversations with senior leadership team about investing in an education technology platform.
Would love to. Yeah, always. Anything to do with senior leadership team, I'm on it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. Of course, a huge thank you to Josie, a huge thank you to Bouquet, who powered through despite floods, bugs, and power cuts, and what have you, to join us today, to share your thoughts, to, as always, thank you for your enthusiasm and for your very generous time that you share with us. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Just to say it again, we will be sharing the recording of the webinar. If you have any other questions, any other comments, anything that perhaps you want more information about, if you're interested in booking a demo for Unifrog or writing on an article for THE Counselor, please reach out to us. All our contact details will be on the follow-up email that you will receive anyway. But in the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Kat.
you, everyone. Bye. Thank you, Kat. Bye, Josie.
Bye.